The next book is Kierkegaard, A Very Short Introduction by Patrick Gardner. I thought when I picked this up that it would be a very easy read or be easy to get through. It was the hardest book that I've read so far this year. Most difficult, most complicated, dealt with the most complex subject matter. I have some readings I want to do and I'm just going to go straight into them because they're reasonably long. So, at first sight, it may seem puzzling to be told that we can forget what it means to exist, as if existence was something we can intelligibly be said to engage in or undergo, like swimming or having a headache. And it is certainly true that in more recent times, many of Kierkegaard's existentialist successors have not been adverse to discussing the concept in ways liable to cause justifiable perplexity. In the present context, however, there seems to be nothing in what he says that need occasion logical unease. His point is a relatively unproblematic one, and concerns the manner in which he believed the majority of his contemporaries were prone to think of themselves and to lead their lives. Thus he considered that they had succumbed to an impersonal and anonymous mode of consciousness, which precluded spontaneous feeling and was devoid of a secure sense of self-identity. Everything tended to be seen in abstract terms, as theoretical possibilities, which could be contemplated and compared, but to the concrete realization of which people were unwilling to commit themselves. If they attended to their own attitudes or emotions, it was through a thick haze of pseudo-scientific expressions or cliché-ridden phrases which they had picked up from books or newspapers, rather than in the direct light of their own inner experience. Living had become a matter of knowing rather than doing, accumulating information and learning things by rote, as opposed to taking decisions that bore the stamp of individual passion or conviction. What this led to was the formation of an outlook in which everything was approached through the medium of set responses and automatic reactions. People knew what they were supposed to say, but they no longer attached any real significance to the words they used. As Kierkegaard wrote in the long section of a literary review entitled The Present Age. In fact, there are handbooks for everything, and very soon education all the world over will consist in learning a greater or lesser number of comments by heart, and people will excel according to their capacity for singling out the various facts like a printer singling out letters, but completely ignorant of the meaning of anything. Moreover, these trends were accompanied by a propensity to identify with an amorphous abstract entities like humanity or the public, people thereby absolving themselves from individual responsibility for what they thought and said. To put it crudely, there was safety in numbers. Everyone can have an opinion, but they have to band together numerically in order to have one. And somewhat similar considerations applied at the level of practical behavior. People were ready enough to talk of doing things on principle, but they were apt to treat the principles they appealed to as if they were endowed with purely external or impersonal authority, unrelated to the agent's own preferences and concerns. In this sense, one could do anything on principle and avoid all personal responsibility. As Kierkegaard remarked elsewhere, none dares say I. Instead, a species of ventriloquism had become de rigueur. The ordinary person had become a mouthpiece of public opinion, the professor a mouthpiece of theoretical speculation, the pastor a mouthpiece of religious meditation. There's going to be a little bit of disjunctive editing in this video because I was cooking dinner when I was recording it yesterday and it started burning, so I had to go and stop it. I'm just going to finish off the last little bit of reading I wanted to do. Following what we found to be the general tenor of the postscript, with its emphasis upon the lived perspective of agency and choice, Kierkegaard's psychological writings portray the structure of the human personality in dynamic and volitional terms. From one point of view, a human may be described as a synthesis of the psychical and physical, an intimate conjunction of mental and bodily characteristics. So conceived, he can be said to belong together with the rest of the world as a type of entity distinguished by the possession of certain determinate attributes. But to regard an individual solely in that light is to lose sight of the fact that he is able to transcend his natural traits and circumstances, and then he must also be understood as spirit, a crucial dimension which Kierkegaard connects with the notion of acquiring a self, and which underlies his notoriously cryptic definition of the latter concept as a relation that relates itself to its own self. Although much time and labour has been spent trying to decide what exactly he meant by that curious form of words, I shall confine myself here simply to giving what I take to be part of the upshot of the tortuous discussion in which it is embedded. To be a person is to exist in the mode, not of being, but of becoming, and what a person becomes is his own responsibility, the product of his will, even if, as frequently is the case, this is something he does not want to confront and seeks to conceal from himself. Moreover, every individual can be held to be aware, whether actually or potentially, of a tension between his current conception of his condition and the presence of alternatives that are in some sense available to him. As it is put at one point, there is not a living being who does not secretly harbour an unrest, an inner strife, a disharmony, an anxiety about some possibility in existence, or an anxiety about himself. Such disturbing intimations and attitudes, however, should not be thought of as restricted to particular phases of history and destined to disappear when the human mind eventually finds himself, in Hegel's reassuring phrase, at home in the world. On the contrary, Kierkegaard considers them to be revelatory of our intrinsic character as persons and to feature, in one form or another, in the life story of every individual. In this way, they are constant and pervasive, endemic to the human condition, but, if so, what according to him is the true significance of the kind of unease or disquiet to which he refers. So, pretty cool if you're interested in existential philosophers. Check it out.